Keep a fire burning red and a Joshua representing of a comes hard here. Big up Kidaki, Buxton Massive. Hey Babylon boy, you go on like you like son. Red.
Guyana and Guyanese, at home and abroad. Tune in to Guyanese Morning Time, hosted by Kadaki Amsterdam, where the sun always shines. Guyanese Morning Time, the people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people call it Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We rise up early morning watching Comes TV, where wisdom and knowledge, yes, it is the key. Exposing corruptions over land and sea, where the wicked politicians they try to trick me. Guyana is a land for everybody. With 6 races should live in harmony. Is one set of people getting aisle money. Is one set of people doing the thievery. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. This is a program that you all can see, sharing your views and your integrity. Like it, comment and share it all around. Pass it to your neighbor, safe and sound. A sad situation going on in this town. The voice of the people is getting trampled down. Out of the mouths of babes and sucklings, with Jah as ordained me to sing. I sing Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, fooling the people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. Stop fooling people. You're promoting evil. Stop lying to the people. You are a part of the cycle. I say Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again. We got Brickford, Bork and Mark Benchcop, David Hines and Kadaki Amsterdam, Sherrod Duncan, Nigel London, Normal Brown and Gavin Matthews. Big up Paslow, Port People Governor, Simona Brooms, Robin Simpson, Hampton Green and Winston JORDN. And yes, we can go right on and on. Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again, Guyanese Morning Time. The people calling Guyanese Morning Time. Rhythm, Guyanese Morning Time. Intelligence and knowledge run the front line. We go again.
The relatives and friends of young Wyndon Bacchus, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of our in Boston, they deserve justice. The family, the relatives and friends of Peter Headley, they deserve justice.
And so when we say that Guyana is an apartheid state, we have the evidence to show.
Never joke, conniving morning. Morning, neighbor, morning, morning, neighbor, morning, morning. You can keep your conniving morning. When you've been a corrupt in a bit every morning. Now because your money done, you come with conniving morning. When you had your pocket full in a bit every morning. Now because your money done, you hustle for tell me morning. Yes, morning, neighbor, morning, neighbor, morning, morning, neighbor, morning, morning. I don't want you conniving morning. Neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker, neighbor, neighbor, joker. That's all the money that me walk. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. A 2 pound note and a kill that piece. This is all the money that me walk. Money, neighbor, money, money, neighbor, money, money. I don't want you conniving money.
Are you planning your next visit to Oil-Rich Guyana, South America? Well, let's accommodate you at Varon's Cheerful Country Manor. With free secured on-premises parking, our beautiful vacation air-conditioned home offers 3 beds, 2 bathrooms, a spacious kitchen, and all modern amenities. Located at Tushen, on the eastern bank of the mighty Essequibo and the western coast of Demerara, Varon's Cheerful Country Manor is just a stone throw from the ocean. Make that reservation now on Airbnb and VRBO. For contact, call us on 516-770-3053 or 592-685-3521. Make Varon's Cheerful Country Manor your home away from home.
All right, so today we are here at Club Twilight up in Buxton, and we are here to talk about all that's going on up here. Trust me, if you are on the East Coast, you're in Buxton, you're in Tongue, you're looking for a place to get away to, this is the place. The Cutters, mwah. Listen, I'll be having some just now again. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, the ambience is beautiful, fully air conditioned. The decor is on point. The music's on point. Everything's on point. It's just me. I need some work. But everything else that belongs to this club here is on point. So if you want to find a nice little place where you can just drive out of town and have some drinks, have some food, you can call, you can order your stuff and just take it. You don't have to stay. Or if you want to stay here, that's what's up. And of course, they have special events for Valentine's. You can rent the hall. You can rent the hall, honey. You can rent the hall for weddings, for birthday parties, to have a bash. I hope he edits that out. But you know, whatever it is, this is definitely the place to be. So it's on Sideline Dam. You definitely want to ensure that you check this place out. But it's on your to-do list. All right, on your to-do list. This is definitely the place to check out, you know, a really cool, chill spot here in Buxton. I like this. This is Buxton needed this. We needed this. I needed this. You definitely needed too. Thank you.
Comes out your son. You burn this wine when I want you shine. The tree of life, them I want you climb, cause them heart no kind. Comes, I say them heart no kind. Buxton Massive, Kidaki, Red Hat.
Stop running around like headless chicken. Go to Ashton's Marketplace for whole and cut chicken, beef, pork, processed meats like bacon, beef franks, smoked ham, ground pork, calabresa, and lots more. Ashton's offers wholesale and retail. Check them out. Call 613-2332 or WhatsApp 434-327-3955. Ashton's Marketplace at 72 Rob Street, Border. You can get meat anywhere, but for the best cuts of chicken, beef, pork, mutton, and lots more, check out T&W Harris Butcher Shop
located in the East Rheinveld Market Meat section. Call us on 609-7168, 641-4494. Ask for Rastaman. T and W Harris Butcher Shop for the best in fresh cut meats and lots more. morning. Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is now 29 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour on the 13th day of November in the year 2024. How are you? How was your last night? How are you doing this morning? How are you doing this morning? How you sleep last night? How you produced yesterday? How was your yesterday? Y'all talk to me. What gives you hope today for a better Guyana? Good. Some disconfirm. What gives you hope that Guyana could be a better place? What makes you think that the PPP government could become a better government? Y'all talk to me. I want to know these things because I like to get into your heads. Should I open up the line for some of you to tell me, answer some of these questions? What gives you hope? What were you able to achieve yesterday from those SMART goals that you set? Are you confident that this PPP government is going to do good by you? Those of you who look forward to your year-end bonus in the joint services, yeah, sure, you are getting up. Why should the joint services get year-end bonus and nobody else? Or are we going to pull a three-card trick? We're going to pay the money, $100,000 promise cash grant. At the same time, we're going to give the joint services the extra tap up and so. Talk to me. WPA recently held a press conference and they talked about the inappropriateness of the government wanting to use the voters list as the source document for distribution of the cash grant. Inappropriate. The reality is, as we know, the voters list is bloated. Very much so. Well, very well bloated. And so if you're going to use a bloated list to distribute cash grant, it means that the amount of money that you're expecting to distribute will be inflated because your source data is inflated. That sounds like robbery for me. That sounds like more people are going to end up with millions of dollars in their home through corrupt practices, like is alleged to happen to some people from the Ministry of Social Services. And then I saw a suggestion from someone who said, why do they have to use the voters list? Why should they? Or why do they have to reinvent the wheel? A lot of our citizens can be found, well, adults, 18 years and older, they say. A lot of them can be found employed in the public service. Can we use the public service payroll data as a source document? And then another set is employed in the private sector. Can we use the private sector payroll with the necessary verifications as source data? And then who can be captured by the use of payrolls as source data? Then we ask them to, I would say, get registered.
provide information for information that will help us to process their cash handout. But then there's another thought that just came to mind. You see, I'm a thinking human being. I'm not a pig, swine, like many of those over in government. It just came to mind. Did we just do a census? Yeah, we just did a census. But justice is relative here. But we recently did a census, and that census is supposed to provide us with enough information to tell us who the 18-year-olds are, 18 and older are. I can't remember exactly if you provided names when the census was being done. I can't remember these things. But I know for a fact the census was done. And that census is supposed to give us that kind of data to see how many adults we have in this society. And so we work from there. But no, everything is politicized. So everything we have to go to the voters list. Let me explain this to you. What's wrong with this country? What is wrong with this country? How come the Elections Commission, GCOM, know the name, Ghana Elections Commission? I want you all to pay attention to me this morning. How come Ghana Elections Commission is being turned to for data to deliver cash grants or cash transfers or whatever you want to call them? How come? Well, as the name suggests, GCOM is supposed to be responsible for the preparation for and conduct of elections. That's how the name says, Ghana Elections Commission. That's what they should be involved in. But we're going to GCOM for the information instead of going to this place. Y'all listen to me? GRO, the General Registrar's Office. Do you know where the General Registrar's Office is? Do you know what the role of the General Registrar is? Or the General Registrar's Office? GRO is where you go to for your birth certificate, where you apply to get your birth certificate. GRO is where you apply to get your death certificate. GRO is where you apply to get your marriage certificate. GRO is where you apply to do name changes. Adoption. In short, GRO, the General Registrar's Office, is responsible for the record of new births, marriages, and deaths of citizens in a country. Where else do you expect to get up-to-date, accurate? Note, I'm living in La La Land here because I know that crap doesn't obtain in Ghana. The data systems in this country are not up to date. If you go to NIS now to check your NIS contributions, they might be a year behind. Data systems are not up to date. But let's just, for the sake of education, say GRO has its data systems up to date. It is the place where you're supposed to get the most accurate information on citizenship and population of this country. I don't know. In the cases that went before the courts in relation to the last elections and so on, we started hearing about the NRR. Have you ever heard that term, NRR? National Register of Registrants. And I'm arguing this to you. I've said it several times before, and I'm saying it again. I do not have any problem with the court's ruling that names cannot be taken off of the National Register of Registrants. Because what should happen if you maintain a National Register of Registrants, its status should change. Tom Jones was born on the 1st of January 1968. That's a new birth, so you have a new citizen. Tom Jones, January 1st, 1968, he has a citizenship number, whatever it is. Isn't it true that the Americans assign social security number to children as soon as they're born? And that takes them through death, so you can track them all through the system. At least that's what I think. I know. So here it is. Tom Jones is born 1st of January 1968. That's a new birth. Tom Jones goes under the new birth column. New citizen in the making, Tom Jones. One more citizen is added to our population. Tom Jones is given a social security number. Tom Jones becomes 18, which is the next milestone according to our country's law. Tom Jones is now 18. He is an adult. So Tom Jones gets thrown out of the newborn or children, whatever the assignment there is, to now adult category. So Tom Jones is no longer under 18. He's now thrown over into the 18 and older category. It's the same citizen. It doesn't change the number of citizens we have. But it changes the number of under 18 we have and the number of adults we have. And for those of you who are into data and data management and stuff like that, you will know that column A, as I'm indicating here, plus column B will give you your national population. Right? That is under 18 plus 18 and older will give you a national population. But we're going to change, we're going to add column C now. And that says deceased. And so when John Jones, or whatever I call him just now, dies, then that status changes. And he goes under deceased. One less citizen for you. But when you add column A and column B, you will still get citizens who are alive under 18 plus 18 and older. And that will still give you your living population. And so if you're looking for 18 and older to pay the cash grant to, you just go and you extract, you do a search. There's what you call criteria for searching. You do a search, you put in your necessary criteria. And it will bring up all of the entries, let's call them that, files, let's call them that, that suits the investigation. How many people we have alive, 18 and older, and who they are. That information is supposed to be gotten from the National Register of Registrants. Not the elections, not the electoral list. Not the electoral list. Why? Let me tell you why. One, you have persons who will become 18 years and older that have not registered for an ID card. And so GCOM has not been able to capture their data. You have people who are 18 years and older who have died. But GCOM doesn't track births and deaths. And so that person is still on the voters list. And that is why we have a bloated voters list. But when somebody dies, what happens? Let me tell you what happens when somebody dies. Or, well, when somebody is born to start with. A record of the birth is made at the place of birth, usually at the public hospital. There's an office there. It might be a sub-office of the GRO, but that child's birth is registered. And that information is transmitted in what way, shape, or form to GPOs, we like to say, the GRO of itself. And I would say a file is open for that individual. That individual can now apply for a birth certificate. And since the birth was registered at the place of birth, then that birth certificate will be issued according to the information presented at the time of registering the birth. So GRO can track you from the time you're born. They got your information. When you die, what is supposed to happen? What happens? Again, the death is supposed to be registered. If you die at the hospital, then you go downstairs, you go to the same office, I think, where births are registered, and you register the death of the individual. They give you a long form. I still got my mother's long form right there. They give you what they call a long form. That indicates the time of death, the place of death, the cause of death. Does it have a cause of death on it? Yeah, I think so. Good. So you have all of that information. So the GRO has information when you were born. It has information when you died. But between birth and death, some people are fortunate they get married. They give up the freedom, they tie not with a tongue that they can't lose with their teeth. And so again, when you get married at the church, there's something called banns that are published, etc., etc. The priest prepares a document indicating that you were married at this church, the date you were married, and all of the other information. And you now go to the GRO to get registered as a married person, so you get a marriage certificate. The National Register of Registrants is supposed to continue to track your change of status. So when you are issued a marriage certificate, it shows that Tom Jones is now married to Patsy Lal, and so GRO is supposed to reflect that information in the data system. So sitting at GRO, they can very well sit and tell us how many married couples they have in this country. They can't tell you how many happily married couples they are, but they can tell you how many married couples they are. Especially if you didn't just marry under bamboo like a certain loquacious politician and refuse to register. Right? The marriage, you refuse to register the marriage. That's Vashni. She can tell you so. Good. So GRO tracks birth, marriage, death, and general change of a citizen's status in terms of sometimes I was born to them Amsterdam, and Amsterdam got some nefarious allegations against them. There's some of the anyhow, let me stop being malicious. And I decided I want to change my name. Like some people allege Bishop did, he changed his name. You go to, when you go, you get a lawyer, do a deed poll to change your name and so on, and you have to register that change of name with the GRO so they know that Moraman King Kidim King Kling is now masquerading in the society as a decent citizen, man of the cloth. New name. But they can track that change. Are our systems working in this country? I would hope they are. Because if they are, then as easy as I'm describing it, it is as easy as that. And so through the NRR, we can tell you how many births we had over a period of time. Registered births, let me call them that. How many deaths we had over a period of time, registered deaths. How many marriages we had over a period of time, registered marriages. And through quote-unquote extrapolation, doing the necessary queries in the data system, we can tell you that our citizenship number is so many. 750,000 is what I've been hearing since I was a boy. We ain't going past 750,000 people in this country. As a matter of fact, the population has declined. Tell them I say that because the census says that. We can talk about that another day when they release the information. So let's talk. So just examining, just doing the necessary queries at through the NRR, assuming that the proper data systems are established and functioning, we can say, well, our population is X number. And of this X number, 90% of them are youths or under 18, or 90% of them are 18 and older. And so this 90% is equivalent to so many hundred thousands of people, which we have to pay the one-off cash grant. We don't have to go to the voters list for that information. We don't have to. The NRR, we're supposed to get that information through the GRO. Let me tell you another status which I think the NRR should capture or may capture is the immigration status of citizens. Tom Jones is born, Tom Jones is married, Tom Jones is Tom Jones is born, Tom Jones become an adult, Tom Jones is married. Tom Jones gets a visa and leaves this country. If the data systems are working as they ought to, then Tom Jones's departure should be reflected. It definitely should be reflected in the immigration department records, and that information, I would think, naturally should be transmitted to the GRO so that it is reflected in their database that Tom Jones has migrated. And so we have one less citizen, but not a citizen that has died, but a citizen that has migrated. And so NRR again can tell us how many Guyanese born here, migrated from here, are living in the US or any other part of the world, because that information should be reflected. It's an interconnection. And that is what data management is. It's a series of interconnecting, we call them modules, wherever you want to. And so it's not difficult. And so let me come down to the bloated voters list now. The list at GCOM is bloated because those who are responsible for the management of the NRR are failing. Why are they failing? The GRO is supposed to track, like I said, births, marriages, deaths. Now, naturally, if somebody dies, then they change category. They move from among the living to among the dead on the NRR. that information is supposed to be transmitted to GCOM. So say here, your voters list has Tom Jones as being a citizen, born 1978, 68, whenever, married 1982, died 2023. Kindly use this information to update your database. And so when that information is provided to GCOM, GCOM then has a responsibility to update the voters list to reflect the death of Tom Jones. And so once GCOM reflects the death of Tom Jones, they know that that bloated list is now reduced by 1. There's 1 less dead person on the list. And if the GRO functions as it could, or as it should, I mean, and provides the necessary data to GCOM, then GCOM's list should be reflective of the GRO's list in terms of adults alive, or let me say 18 years and older alive. So if you want to check the integrity of the data, if I can call it that, then you can use GCOM as a secondary source. Compare GCOM's data with the GRO's data, and then you say, well, yeah, at least it is correct to -1%. You know, you usually have what they call a margin of error. So it is correct to margin of error of about 1%. That is accounted for because GCOM did not do the reconciliation. GRO did not do the reconciliation for the last 3 months. Or GCOM did not do the reconciliation for the last 3 months. But I challenge you. You go and, well, they won't even give you the information. I know you are applying to the information czar, Charles Ramsey Sr. How well is that man? I wonder what his health is like right now. If he's still senile and so on. I mean, if he's still, this is not the word senile. Senile is when you lose your senility, when you lose your mental capacity, right? I'm trying to remember the word, but anyhow, I wonder if he's still aware of all things. But the question is, if you want to go to GRO for information on how many adult citizens we have in this country, and they provide you with that number, I dare you to go and check and compare it to GCOM's list. One will be East and one will be West. GCOM's list is likely to be bigger than the GRO's list. Put it to the test. And I dare the government to prove otherwise. I dare the Barlet Tyrant and others to prove to us that what is reflected at GCOM is reflected at the GRO in terms of adult citizens we have. I bet you they can't. But I shouldn't say they can't. They can't legitimately. They could fudge the numbers and give us. But that's the risk of using GCOM's voters list as a source data for paying out the cash transfer. And so let me show you the skullduggery that the PPP as a government is involved in there. Number one, if you use a bloated list to pay, you're going to get, just as you get imposter voting, you're going to get imposter collecting, impostering to collect. And you know that just as how they allow people in their stronghold to vote 2 or 3 times, utilizing information for other people, it is the same way they will allow people in their strongholds to collect money 2 and 3 times, utilizing the information of others who are not legitimately on the list because they're either overseas or dead. or dead overseas. That's the first problem you'll get there. The other thing is, the payout that they make using that bloated list is going to be used to justify the accuracy of that bloated list. Also, the opposition challenging the existence of 775,000 voters, and we use the same list and 775,000 voters collected the money. There's no discrepancy here. And that's the risk. That is the risk. Right? Right? That's the risk. But I hope you understand the cheat card trick. Good? That is taking place. But I got two bits of information to share with you before I move on. One is that money paying out. Money is paying out. There's a public announcement issued by the regional executive office in Region 9. It says, following His Excellency Dr. Whoever Mohammed A. Farali, President of Cooperative Republic of Ghana's announcement on October 10, 2024, that a one-time cash grant of 100,000 will be distributed to each household, later amended to all Guyanese citizens aged 18 and up. A verification exercise will be conducted in Region 9. This exercise will take place on the 16th, 17th, and 18th of November. To complete the verification process, all Region 9 residents are asked to be physically present at the designated locations with their ID cards. Please refer to the attached schedule for information on where you need to go to verify your name. It is vital to note that the list obtained by this exercise will be utilized to conduct the distribution. WPA making sense. Method of verification, Guyanese identification card. You all understand what Guyanese, them Venezuelans and Brazils who get Guyanese documents by fraud and fraudulent practices doing well. So Region 9 authority is saying, listen, we're verifying who the residents are. Who are the eligible people in Region 9, starting from the 16th of November. Is that what the data read? I think so, the 16th of November. 16th, 17th, and 18th, yes. Good. And in order to verify, you have to come with your ID card. Now, nothing wrong about everything right. I was talking about the dangers of using GCOM's bloated list to pay. And I was saying that the NRR, if properly maintained, is where the source data should come from. I also suggested that you can use a public service payroll, private sector's payroll, and then those people who don't find themselves on those two register through a particular process to verify the eligibility. Well, that is what is happening in Region 9. A registration process is taking place. You turn up with the ID card, you put on your name or whatever other data they will collect, and so you know you're on the list to get paid. My assumption is that is going to happen throughout the country. Do you assume the same thing? I assume so. And I hope so. And when they're finished with those processes, those verification processes and even payment, I want them to say to the Guyanese people, these were the numbers of persons in these different parts of the country that were verified as alive and well in this country and came to collect their $100,000. And that number is supposed to be reflected on your voters list. Or at least that number plus or minus a few percent. Are you willing to bet that if you get those numbers, they will not correlate? And the question is, do you believe the PPP government will reveal that number? Do you believe the PPP government will use those registrations to verify or allow those registrations to verify the voters list in those areas? This is not me reinventing the wheel. This is me using the wheel to say how we can verify our voters list. At least within a certain degree, a certain margin of error. But do you believe that the PPP has that interest? No, they don't. But they did WPA awaken them by saying we are against the voters list being used because it opens the process to corruption and all of that? Yes, we have awakened them. There is proof. Did you awake them when Brother Yusik Kwana say this thing should be legislated, this thing should go through the legislature? Yes, that is why Jagnew said the other day that the monies to pay this cash grant would come through a supplementary budget. Because if they do a supplementary budget, then it gets legal strength, legislative strength. So we winning. WPA making some sense. Some people listening, but they're not acknowledging, they're only doing. We're quite content with that. So long as we can keep government doing what is right for the citizens, we're quite contented with that. We would like to replace them so that we can do the best for citizens. Good. It's 10 minutes past the 8 o'clock hour. I got some more things to tell you about, I hear Ali, this waste. Banner, that man is robbing people of oxygen, people who deserve to really breathe. One Dennis Champagne Collins, what are you asking about really? I tell you must come clear when you want to engage me. Good. I like my little banter with you. I don't abuse you out. That you don't come funny. Is that when I'm telling one and someone has come funny, this get cost. Here we talking. Oh shoot, sir. Oleg stepping. What you call Oleg? Senescence? Oh shit. Senescence just stepping. Oh, I talking about this waste, this banner. Warrior, one card president and all kind of thing. I'm not calling me, I got to see why. You don't call just so. You don't call willy-nilly. Go by here. Hey. You want a live? I could put on the mic. Huh? All right, good. Winston John, want to get him a business. He's playing Wednesday today. Jump in, am I?
Yeah, morning, Kadaki. I was happy that you read out that what was it, message coming from the office of the regional executive chairman, Region 9 on the cash grant. I hope it's authentic. Because even the message itself has a slight error.
Yeah, I recognize that. I recognize that.
Well, I don't know if the error that you recognize is the one that I recognize.
Well, they said 100,000 for everybody, every household, and then to every individual. I think that is the error I recognize.
And not only that, it is suggesting that Ali made an announcement on October the 10th about a cash grant of 100,000 to households. He did not make such an announcement. He made an announcement of 200,000 for households.
Well, that is what I said was the error. Anyhow, go ahead. Good.
Right, but anyway, so there are a couple of issues I thought can't wait till tomorrow I should bring to the fore. First of all is saying that they're now asking people to go to certain places and with your ID card and register. What is the relationship between that and the app that is supposedly being developed? Right? Because we heard that the app was going to be developed, tested, and you were required to go online and register and put in your information and so on. So has that been abandoned? And now they're going now with this business where you have to turn up in person at certain places on some appointed dates to register. That's the first issue that needs to be clarified. The second one that needs to be clarified is that the announcement was that all people 18 and over as at December 31st, 2024. So if you're asking people to go there on the 16th, 17th, 18th, whatever of November in person with your ID card, have you made arrangements for those who are not 18 as yet, but who will be 18 up until December the 31st? Where will those people go? Seeing that they can't go on the 16th, 17th, and 18th to register. Where will those persons go? What is the arrangement that you've put in place
but
for those persons?
Mr. Jordan, why can't they go on the 16th, 17th of 18 and 18? The ID card will reflect, let me finish. The ID card will reflect that they will meet the criteria when the time comes at the end of the year.
But based on the regional executive officers thing that he has put out there, I don't think that the intent is that for you who is under 18 to go there and present yourself with your ID card. Right? And I don't, and even that message is not even saying ID card or passport. I think it just says ID card.
Yes, it says ID card.
Right. So what happened to the passport? That has suddenly disappeared. That is why, you got so many issues there because this thing has just been sprung upon people just like that. There has been no lead up in terms of announcement. It is going to be by region, so. There's been no lead up as to what people should expect. There's no lead up as to education about the process. There's nothing, I mean, even when distributing pension books, there's some lead up into the pension books, and what you can expect and so on. There's absolutely nothing here. And then, of course, if you didn't present yourself on the 16, 17, and 18, due to whatever reason, what is the arrangement for you to subsequently present yourself? And then, of course, why have the joint opposition gone silent in relation to this issue about scrutineers? Why did they pick up on that matter? Because this process that you have here going where people are going to present themselves would have been an opportune time for scrutineers
because he chose not to. And so right now there's a feast going on at Blue Monday. All the snacks that were prepared for the senior staff, including your presidents and entourage, they're sharing them out. At least taxpayers getting a taste of what the big shots just get when taxpayers' money spending. There's the only positive in that. The ordinary man and woman or a chosen few getting to eat some of the tax money at the quality that them big shots get. But you know what? I tell you, I'm going to show you all two videos just now. Let me see if I find them. Yeah, I see them here. Let's see if I'm going to open the first one. Why y'all notice the attitude and the pomposity and the arrogance of this man who thinks, well, I didn't even know if they think, I said for his own thing. But this man who is clearly displaying dictatorial tendencies, we're calling people out of the house at 5 in the morning to go and sit with him and give update on this and that and the other and the other. Let the offices function. When projects are downtime, call the PS and let them give account via the accounting officers. But no, you want to call all the contractors away from the wife to come and give you account of what's going on. It don't happen so. That's not governance. That's dictatorship. That's micromanaging. If your accounting officers cannot account for the stewardship, then you hire them over the coals and make them examples. You damn disrespectful. Again, I'm saying it. But I ain't a contractor because I want to be there. But yeah, listen to the arrogance.
In all the regions and everything, don't make me. Where is the PS?
I'll take a pin. Don't make me. Was he going to say, don't make me fire you? I won't suspect that. Is another Donald Trump, you're fired? Yeah, listen up.
Where is the PS? At the gate. He's at the gate because he came after 5:30. That's why he's at the gate. Because he came after 5:30.
According to the PS's contract of employment list of duties and so on, what time is he required to be at work? Anybody ask that question? What time is he required to be at work? 5:30 is still early. The PS must even not make any for storm, Ali. What you call out the bed so early for? You guys past people.
Who's the other?
Depriving the wife of early morning, wake up, roll up, hug up. You ever heard the term morning work?
Technical staff
What does contractors deal with in the morning? Are you?
You're the head.
What is wrong with you? You are disrespectful and ignorant. I'm going to tell you again. You're acting ignorant.
I'm not even going to say nothing.
You're acting ignorant.
In all the regions and everything, don't make me. Where is the PS? Where is the PS?
Well,
at the gate. He's at the gate because he came.
It's not calling time number. You're having a discipline, you know. Come listen. Don't make me fire some of you for indiscipline.
Miss Green has been like an auntie to me. She's my mom's best friend back in 2007.
He came after 5:30. That's why he's at the gate. Because he came after 5:30. Who's the other technical staff in this ministry? You're the head.
My mom passed.
Yes. So that's one video, but look at this one, you know. Are they playing school? Are they marking register? Hey.
Okay. You're making notes, eh?
Are they marking register?
Heyman Construction Services.
Present, sir.
Were they invited? Okay. Making notes, eh? Antrac Engineering. So, engineer, you try to get Antrac? And y'all can't get a contractor? No, put your hands down properly and speak to me, man.
Put your hands up. Put your hands up and answer the register. Put your hands up properly and speak to me. It's water, man. Yeah? This is them children father talking to them or HM or class teacher. What going on? Y'all tell me about this nonsense, man. If this in disrespect, I don't know what it is.
You spoke to him yesterday? And you invited him to the meeting. So P.S., how you said you can't get in contact with him, and look, your engineer is right here saying he spoke to him. No, look, your engineer, this is an engineer. He's not working outside the ministry. Did he report to you? He don't report to y'all? You're the head of the engineering department. Did he report to you? So imagine the president is calling a meeting in national interest to deal with all of these contractors who have delays. And nobody will sit with the staff to check on this. It's absolute. If the engineer contacted him, then it's clear he has no interest. KNS General Construction.
Mr. President, we tried to make contact with him up to this morning and we were not unable to make contact.
You're the consultant?
Yes.
And you're unable to make contact with your contractor? Do you have a staff on the site supervising this project?
Yes.
Did your staff work yesterday?
Yes.
And the contractor work yesterday?
Mr. President, we were informed about a meeting at 5:30 yesterday afternoon, and only then we were trying to start making contact with him, and we were unable to try to make contact with his staff.
What time the consultant was informed? Yes. What time you spoke with the consultant? Speak now, because that is why I want everybody to hear. Tell me what time you spoke with the consultant, because what is happening here is a reflection of poor work. The lying from the consultants, the missing of deadlines, is just for one meeting, is a reflection of their approach to the work on the ground. That is why you're having delays. You're telling me you're a consultant. You're supposed to be on the site every day. Yesterday, your consultant, your staff, and the contractor was on the ground together working, and you can't get a message to them as a consultant? That is KNS. What is the name of this consultancy? Huh? Origin? A. Organson and Son.
We didn't make contact with them.
So this ministry made contact with nobody. This ministry none of the contractors can stand up to now from this ministry. That is why we're where we are. You're the consultant again. You can't make contact with the contractor.
We didn't make contact with the contractor.
Let's fight, folks. Let's.
The proprietor himself is out of the country, but he promised to have a representative here. I'm not able to say where the representative is. But we did make contact with him.
So let me explain to you how project management goes, because I did it myself. You're the consultant. You're paid by the state to represent our interests. You came understanding that the president has a meeting this morning. I called this meeting at 5:30, not because I don't have anything to do. is because of the concern that I have for these projects that are more than 4 months behind schedule. You came, what time did you come to the meeting? You're the consultant, you're supposed to be here before the contractor. And if you had any courtesies or even any respect for your own capability, the first thing you'd have done was to check if your contractors are here. And did you call him?
Again, sir, we tried to make contact with the proprietor of the company.
No. You came this morning, you checked. Did you check this morning? Did you call him this morning when you came here and did not see him?
No.
So that is the point I'm making. It's a laissez-faire approach to this work. You're the consultant. You came this morning. You did not see the contractor who is supposed to be here under your supervision. You didn't pick up the phone and call. R&D engineering service. Yeah, another contractor in this sector. Where's this contractor engineer?
It's the same scenario, sir. We made contact with him, right?
And it's the same consultant. It is clear. It's the same consultant. The same consultant, the same problem, you can't make contract. I'm sure you're not on the site doing the work.
Mr. President, they aren't currently on site doing any work, so we were unable to reach out to representatives. This morning.
But you all submit this to me. But this information on those who are 4 months.
Y'all get the impression, y'all can understand what's happening. That is your president's at work. Yeah, project management is done because he did it himself. I hope y'all in the same class with Ali. The lines are opened. 622-5933 is not always 622-5933 is the number to call. You're tuned to the Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Guyanese Amsterdam. Call you on. Call you on.
Yes, good morning to you. Good morning to you and all my black brothers and sisters in Guyana. First thing first, we're going to get there. Don't worry with the man of night in charge. What he performed there, I don't know, but no, ask your question. Is that person that who answering questions to the man with night in charge, is this a black man? Because to me, Vice sound like a black man.
I don't know. I can't tell people ethnicity from the Vice really, but I don't know.
Okay, good. Because I didn't love to disrespect black engineer because I didn't want to move them and put his own only people them from India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh.
Morning, neighbor, morning, are you morning? Morning, are you morning? Welcome to another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am your host, Kidaki Amsterdam. It is 7 hours 32 on the 14th day of November in the year 2024. How you do? How was it yesterday? How was it last night? What were you able to achieve yesterday that gave you hope? Are you satisfied with how those SMART goals are coming along? Have you been achieving them? You know, you got short, medium, and long-term goals. Have you been achieving your short-term goals at least? Because if you haven't, then you need to go back to the drawing table and tweak. Right? You need to tweak that plan. A plan is just a plan on paper. It is the execution. You see, a plan is perfect on paper for most people. They see it, they plan it, they put it on paper, and they tell themselves, hey, I'm on the road.
You know, they see it, they plan it, they put
right? I'm on the road to getting success. But when it comes to the execution of that plan, that is when you really are able to test and see if you're making sense. Good. So always keep that in mind. And I hope you are monitoring whether or not you're meeting your short-term goals. Because if you can't meet your short-term goals, the possibility is you're not going to meet your medium-term goals. And so since you recognize that you're failing to meet your short-term goals, you need to go back to the drawing board and start assessing where you're going wrong, where the errors are, and how you can fix them moving forward. That's my encouragement to you this morning. Let me remind you that CAMS TV is facilitating, let me say that, CAMS TV is facilitating a marketing workshop. And that marketing workshop is next Sunday, or Sunday coming, as we like to say, the 17th of November. It starts at 15 hours at Club Twilight. Those of you who have small businesses, I would recommend this marketing workshop for you. It's entitled Magnetizing Your Brand, Attracting, Engaging, and Retaining Customers. Good. It's, like I said, on Sunday, 3 o'clock in the afternoon at Club Twilight. And those of you who are always wondering, how are we paying for this? It is absolutely free. It is free. You don't have to pay a blind cent to attend the workshop. But just know that there is no free food and free snacks. If you need food and snacks, you can indicate to start with ahead of time. And then you can come prepared to buy beverages at the bar and so on. Because, as I say, the workshop itself, it's free. It's usually an expensive undertaking. But with the compliments of Club Twilight and so on, we're going to get this space to use and stuff like that. So the least we can do is support the bar. Buy a snack, a cup of channel or so, something, you know, and think. But what is important is that you get to that workshop because you're going to get a lot of nuggets. Yeah, I woke up this morning thinking, I really should have asked Mr. Jordan to be part of that workshop, you know. I should have asked Mr. Jordan to be part of that workshop and extend it from just marketing to making people aware of what the quote-unquote nuances of establishing businesses in this country are. But I don't know if it's too late. I might talk to him after he comes off the program this morning. But the main aim is to get our people to understand that doing business is not just having a product. You have to market it. And marketing is not just having, even if you market, let me say, you can't just have people coming to your shop front, if I call it that, whatever it's, if it's virtual or physical, come to your shop front, purchase one time and don't return. You have to learn how to create return customers. That is how your business will grow. And so those of you who are in small business, those of you who know people who are in small business, ask them to call the number 6827981 or WhatsApp 6827981 so that they can get registered for this marketing workshop on Sunday and make the best use of it. I will continue to tell you that I believe that as political activists and so on, even in the opposition, we have a duty to empower our people. And like some people like to say, we have to behave as though we're a government in waiting. And there's some little things we can do to empower our people. And I think this is one of the things we can do, and I'm proud to put the CAMS TV tag to it. Good. So look out for that. Look out for that. At 23 minutes to the 8 o'clock hour, Mr. Jordan is going to be on today, so I'll call him early, about 8 o'clock or so. And so we could start that discussion. But I have to report to you, I think I went to court a few weeks ago, or a few days ago, the 9th, I think, I can't remember, yeah, the 6th and 7th. It was scheduled for the 6th and 7th, yes. So I went to court on the 6th, and the magistrate wasn't there. So the matter is now set for the 9th of January, 2025. I failed to report that to you. I realized I failed to report that to you. A number of persons are inquiring, Mr. Hassan, you didn't go to court? What's the outcome? Right, so I am now to go back to court on the 9th of January. Good, let's keep that in mind. Good, I'm happy to tell you that. Now, I notice, you know, common sense, I usually say common sense in common. And I feel so good sometimes when we set the tone here and people follow nicely. Y'all notice the news today is that public servants and old age pensioners are likely to be the first persons to be paid. the $100,000 cash grant per individual? Yes. I understand they maintained a brand new program name in the seat yesterday evening, and the president was there being interviewed. And he said, people going to get the money by year end because we're going to use the public service database and the old age pension database to start paying people. And we're currently now collecting data from Region 9. We have started a data collection process in Region 9. I bet you that was a setup question based on the advice I gave this morning. Call any of the prominent. Call any of the permanent secretaries that are supposed to probably putting together the database and ask them when the database was requested of them. Yeah? These people always want to go reinventing the wheel to steal taxpayers' money when the answers are right in front of them. And they don't pay people like me and Mr. Jordan for these consultancies. There's your money, they're taking all the money. We giving them free advice. And they're using our advice without even acknowledging, hey, thanks to Camps TV. We had a Eureka moment. Ain't no damn Eureka moment. It's common sense at work. But I used to tell my students, common sense ain't so common. Common sense ain't so common. Right? But I'm happy to know that they're going to use the public servants database to start paying out this $100,000 one-off cash grant. I'm not like me waiting to hear what the process is because I will have to get registered to get my $100,000. I don't work in the public service. I don't work. Well, I am a tout. I walk in by the minibus park. I tout it. I put in passenger buses. So I'm gonna get registered to get this $100,000 Ghana dollars. And it's something else I want to show you. The wisdom of Clive Thomas. Clive Thomas said, pay this money per household. Right? If you pay this money per household, you are going to get away to register or make people tax compliant. Let me say that, something to that extent. Right? Because if you pay this money, people have to be placed into the database. And from the database that you create, paying this money, you'll be able to track a lot of things. But no, these darn fools, they can't see wisdom even if it smack them in the face, blam. Can't see it. Good. But I'm waiting to hear how people in Region 4, because they're collecting data in Region 9, how people in Region 4 who are not public servants and who are not old age pensioners are going to get their money. What processes they have to go through for registration. How about an online registration? Because I like virtual. I tell anybody I like virtual. How about an online registration process? When you log into some site, as a matter of fact, I think I heard them talk about some app that they're working on. You sign on to an app, you register, you provide a necessary credentials, ID card, national passport, birth certificate, whatever it is you're required to provide to prove that you are eligible. And then virtually, again, digitally, they can quickly cross-check that information. As against this, and I'm giving them ideas because they ain't got none. As against this, capture the data on paper, pen and paper. We're still doing pen and paper capturing of data. And after capturing the data on pen and paper, we now have to go and digitize that information. As we would say, we got to input it into the computer. Right? We have to input it, categorize it and input it. and then go through the process of analyzing it and so on and so forth. Whereas if we capture it digitally from the inception, it can be analyzed even as it is being captured in real time. But I guess, which is the ministry responsible for such thing as data? I think it's Prime Minister's Office, the National Data Management NDMA authority comes under the Prime Minister's Office. So it's super Mark Subdrinker Phillips responsible for things like that, what I'm talking about. And Kwame, nah, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Good. I have no doubt that you have professionals there, because I remember a particular person might be the head of a particular department now, who was a scholarship student. And I can say that person is good at what they do, and I'm sure they have ideas and so on and so forth. Then I remember a particular person was seconded from the military to work with the NDMA and so on and so forth. Those people know the craft. But with the amount of micromanaging that takes place in this country and the amount of supersession that takes place in this country, you ask yourself, even if they're even allowed to function. And I doubt it. So I don't see, but here's a recommendation, Mr. President. Use the National Data Management Authority, NDMA. They got some skilled personnel over there, perhaps the best in the public sector, to guide you on the capturing and verification of data, even if it is to this particular process. You can't lose, you can't go wrong. You will look good. That 530 meeting you're trying with, you will look good if you take my advice. Free advice, because you're paying for it. Sometimes I wonder what the advisors to the presidents, and the PPP government. Because I guarantee you that most of the advisors are no professionals, you know. Most of them, if not all of them, are no professionals. They are friends and cronies of the family. Me and you used to drink at Seeker's Bar together, and I'm now minister. Come let me make you advisor to the minister, man. We don't drink in the office. That is how we do it in this country. That is how we do it in this country. Who advised them that it's wise to buy, to rent another power ship? I think it's Patterson who tell them that is all, tell the public recently that is all a lot of money. Let's see if I find a Patterson video before Mr. JORDN comes in, because I would want him to comment on this power ship.
As all Guyanese are well aware, power outages has returned with a vengeance as predicted.
Patterson,
the PPP's management of this sector continues.
Yeah. The kind of foolishness we put up with in this country. There's not one power ship that can make it. Karen Cook stopping it from being efficient. At least so the government says, not I say so. I could only tell you how the government said. Right? Karen Cook stopping it from being efficient. But whoops, we rent another power ship to put in the, that one is in the Bobby's River, I think, or in the, Bobby's River. This one we put in the Demerara River. I wonder what will be affecting the one. I want to believe it's Karas, you know, but we will watch and see what will be affecting the one, right? But let me share Patterson's thoughts on this for you, and then
as all Guyanese are well aware,
we proceed.
Power outages has returned with a vengeance as predicted. The PPP's management of this sector continues to be abysmal. Of concern to the Alliance for Change, and we assume to all Guyanese, is the cost that the country has to pay for the poor decision-making of the PPP. With the recent announcement of an award for rental of a 75 megawatt power ship, Turkish power ship, the costs associated with these two rentals for our country is tremendous, particularly in an era when public servants and the general public are complaining about the high cost of living in the country. And the Alliance for Change would like to enlighten the citizens of Guyana the actual cost that they will be bearing for these rentals of one of the 36 megawatt power ship, as well as the 75 megawatt power ship, as recently announced by the Vice President in his press conference yesterday. The daily rental for the one that is operating now, power ship, the 36 megawatt power ship, is 13.5 million Guyana dollars a year. And the 75 megawatt ship that will be coming online, they said, in another 6 weeks, will be 35.3 million Guyana dollars per day, bringing us a total of 48, almost 49 million Guyana dollars per day. These both contracts are valid for 2 years. And this is the cost of the rental only for the power ships. And so that would mean that the Guyana will be paying $17.8 billion per year, or $35.6 billion to these two companies, billion Guyana dollars to these two companies for rentals. But added to that, the rentals for these power ships are just for generation. Added to that, the Guyana government has to put two other sets of costs. Fuel, the fuel for the 36 and the 75 megawatts power ships to run heavy HFO would be 75.5 million Guyana dollars a year, or 26.5 billion a year, and over the 2 years of the contract will be 50 or 53 billion Guyana dollars a year. In addition to this cost, there is another contract which is for the transportation of the fuel to these power ships, and the 36 megawatt is at the station in Barbies, and I assume the 75 will be there as well. The daily rate for transportation of this fuel is 4.2 million Guyana dollars a year. It will be 1.5 billion for per day, 4.2 million gallons a day. For the yearly cost will be 1.5 billion, and for the 2 years it will be $3 billion. Cumulatively, the summary of the costs that we will be paying, Guyana will be paying, because of the poor decision making of the PPP, because they had zero plans for our power sector, just for the rental of these two ships. Per day, 126 million Guyana dollars. Per year, 46 billion Guyana dollars. And of course, the 2 years contract, that'll be 94 billion Guyana dollars, which are 426 million US dollars. What the Vice President and the people of Guyana has to know, this is just the cost for generating. Added to the cost to deliver this
but also
Mr. Jordan.
human resources.
Mr. Jordan,
Yes.
sorry, boy.
Yes.
I don't know why it is with this thing. And might turn off. My God. Can you believe it? My God. Anyhow, here we are. Very, very sorry for that. Welcome to the program, Mr. Jordan. How are you doing, boy?
I'm good, you know. I'm good. As I said, once the sun is shining and the birds are singing, right? It's an occasion to be happy. Today is Thursday. The weekend is nigh.
The weekend has started.
So the weekend is nigh, you know. But I want to take, just before we go into any discussion, to take a quick reflection on all those fires that have taken place recently. The one that gobbled up 5 human lives on the quarantine, right? That was so sad. Condolences to the family. And still staying in the Borbies area, one that had as a casualty what in my book is a very iconic hotel. That's the Penguin International Hotel and Disco. We had many parties and so on in that disco back in the 70s. You know, if it could talk, it would reveal a lot of secrets. So it was very nostalgic reading about the Penguin and the fire. I'm glad that it wasn't completely destroyed, and hopefully the LeBennett family can get the courage and the resources and so on to restore it to its former glory. Yeah, but I thought it would. But there are too many fires. I think there was a fire last night, I think, at Lagrange, where a major fire, and then of course Fireside Suites in Garnet Street, the other fire. And my friend, a couple of weeks ago, Brandy of Carcare, his boutique hotel was engulfed in Crowell Street there. So we have to be very careful. We had a bit of rain yesterday, but the weather is it's still dry, still hot, and so on. And we have to be extremely careful how we deal with this situation. So that is my intro.
And so let me ask you. I just before you came in, I was playing Patterson on the Powership rentals and so on. Mad money, man.
Well, you know, it's the difference when you listen to my colleague, former minister, and the details with which she has gone into, not for the first time, for the umpteenth time over the last 4 years, setting out how it was done on the coalition and setting out the plans and programs that the coalition had in place. The confidence that would have given you as to the person who was managing the sector for the coalition versus whoever is managing the sector for this government. I don't know who is managing the sector. I think energy or electricity falls under the Prime Minister. I don't know what is his background beyond the military. I don't know what qualifications he has to manage that sector. But it's cheese to chalk, you know. And you're talking about a guy in Patterson who was managing a sector at the time when we didn't have the kinds of resources that we have, but who everybody admits was able to bring back some semblance of normalcy in the sector. I mean, try as they want to. Everybody in Guyana admits that under the coalition, blackout, while not becoming a thing of the past, was considerably reduced because it was tackled frontally by the coalition government. And if you go on his page, he has been able to detail every action virtually that was taken in the sector over that 5 years. All they can do is gripe and spew a bunch of lies about what they took over and what they had to do. And that is why 4 years afterwards, you're still having blackouts, or 4 years afterwards, you're still complaining about Gaisuko and the state it was left. I read this morning, even in some new program called In the Seat, where Ali was talking about when they took over, there was trees growing in the canals and pontoons were thing and so on. And 4 years after, and over $60+ billion pumped into the sector, Gaisuku is about to produce its worst output in its entire history. So 4 years after, when you ask to be the captain of the ship, and the ship is sinking, you blaming those who you took over the ship from, as if the populace is concerned about what happened 4 years ago. Let us assume that the reason why you were in charge today is because the populace wanted to send a message 4 years ago. Now you got the ship. Are you blaming those 4 years ago for where you have the ship today, even though you have enormous resources compared to what that previous government had? So yes, to come back to the energy sector, it's cheese to chalk. The disarray, the complete disarray in this energy sector that you see is symptomatic of a government that is power drunk on money and poor on planning. Those are the symptoms that you're seeing. All of this has been written in the past in the form of Dutch disease and resource curse. And that's what we have been staring us in our eyes. No matter what they talk, we do this and we do that to avoid resource curse. We're doing the exact things. Think about it. Just last year, they were talking about buying a set of old scrap iron generating sets from someplace in Guatemala or Nicaragua. Soon thereafter, when those sets had problems powering up, they then moved to other solutions, including the 36 megawatts power ship that is now in the Borbis River. Now this 70-something megawatts power ship that is now to be placed in the Mara River. And as somebody, I think in the comment section, Dorley Smart said, soon they are going to make certain that Essequibo is not left out. So they're going to bring another power ship and put it in the Essequibo River. That is the madness we have in this country because we have money. Because you have money. That is the madness that you are contending with. And notwithstanding all of this, neither the government or GPL or anyone there can lay out a 15 to 25-year plan of electricity generation in this country, because you're talking about the country being transformed. You're talking about it growing by these leaps and bounds percentages and so on. So where is the plan to make certain that power is available to the entire country and not just principally the coast? Where is the plan to make certain that power is available, particularly in the hinterland regions where the development should be taking place? Where is the road infrastructure, the roadmap to open up the hinterland? Where is that? Instead of these overnight piecemeal, wake up, you hear you widening conversation tree, you're taking a road from the Harbour Bridge to someplace, or you extending the Mandela Avenue to someplace. Where is the plan? Where is the road plan? Where is the energy plan? Where are these plans that when they come together, they give some perspective of the development of the country over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years? Where are these plans? And yet you ask to govern, but all you can do is pray about what you didn't get 4 years ago. 9 months in before your term ends, you still brain about what you didn't get, what you got, or what you perceived to have got 4+ years ago. Instead of being proud of whatever achievements that you might have been able to get and work on those. If you have to go on your perceived woes that you claim that you got 4 years ago as an election strategy, as opposed to your so-called achievements over the last 4 years, then you are in desperate straits. You don't think so, Kadaki?
Certainly, of course.
You know? You're brain about Gaisuku, imagine. And over that same 4-year period, you pump $60 billion into Gaisuku for it to produce the worst output.
Bad workman quarrels with his tools.
Sorry?
A bad workman quarrels with his tools.
Always, always, always. You bring about electricity. As I said, everybody, even supporters of this government admits that the electricity situation under the coalition government was far better than it is today, at a time when you have serious cash that the coalition government did not have. And the best you can do is keep promising people but some gas to shore. But some gas to shore that is likely to be as scandalous or worse than the Skeldon sugar factory. And whose timeline. It's a pity, it's a wonder that they weren't there at the 5:30, the infamous 5:30 meeting, because they are well behind schedule also. And now you're back to the same, thinking about it, I don't even know whether Guyana attended the climate change meeting in Baku, in Afghanistan. Not Afghanistan, is it Baku in, oh Lord, one of those stands, but I know Baku is the capital, that is taking place, because it is going on during this week here, and I believe both henchos are still in Guyana, Ali and Jagdeo. I'm surprised that they are not at that climate change conference where the Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley made her now famous challenge to Trump for them to meet eyeball to eyeball on the climate change. Good for her if she can get through on that. But now you have a situation facing you where you're now doing the exact opposite to what you claim. You're going out there spewing about climate change and heating up of the world's temperature and so on, right? So you got a ship in the Barbados River born in either Bunkusea or whatever it's born in, and another one, bigger one, now going to be put in the Mara River, born in Bunkusea. You have flaring that's going on non-stop in each of the FPSOs that are out there. So you signaling left and you're going right. There's always this unorthodox approach that we seem to be pursuing here. So you're talking about clean energy, but you're dirtying up the atmosphere, right? Where we were very clean before, you're dirtying up the atmosphere because you don't seem to have a policy to get us to this so-called clean energy situation that we're supposed to be in. So that is that. But I think we have to make a comment on the 5:30.
So what
make a comment on the 5:30.
Yeah? You know them boys ain't singing 6:30, you know what they're singing 5:30. You got 6:30 now, you got 5:30, man.
5:30. Oh boy, when I looked at that, somebody sent me the video, and when I looked at it, it was painful trying to listen to it and look at it. Very, very painful. In some respects, if there is any positive, if you want to be drawn from it, because there's so many negatives, is the fact that the government has admitted, without it admitting, that it has bitten off more than it can chew, which is what we have been saying, the opposition has been saying, the analysts have been saying, the international institutions have been saying, right? The IMF and so on, that the government has undertaken a public sector investment program too large, too quickly. But they didn't want to admit it again, as I said, money can blind you and money is good. But money management is a different story. And this is where this government has had a problem with money management. It has so much money, it doesn't know what to do with it.
They're starting to look like Macantali.
Sorry?
They're starting to look like Macantali.
Exactly. Or we can look at it the other way, which is that they know very well what they're doing with it. Because to undertake such a large investment program is where Bakshi and whatever else can be quickly and comfortably grabbed. So you have this, it's not for the first time that Ali has engaged in this kind of scenario where he's dragged somebody under the coals in some very uncomplimentary language. You know, I recall some meeting that he was at either Region 5 or Region 6, where he was ranting and raving, get the person to put on some light or something in this. It's not the first time, really. It's not the first time. But this was the worst of the lot. This was the mother of them all. At 5:30 in the morning. And I'm not sure on the labor laws for many of them. I mean, he could call his ministers at 5:30 or any time, because under the Constitution, all the ministers are his creatures. All of them that he appointed are his creatures, right? And that's why, under the Constitution at least, I mean, one judge seems to think differently, that ministers aren't public servants. You know, so he can call them at any time. But to call public servants outside the framework of the labor laws and the working hours is a different story. So I don't know on what grounds he was on when he was calling out people at 5:30. And I felt it for a number of people there, because I know a couple of those public servants. And to understand their situation, you know, some of them may not have cars, and they will have to look for transportation at that hour in the morning because nobody went to pick them up. Almost all of them got families. They got children who got to go to school. They got to get up and prepare their meals, and some of them live so far that at 5:30 they're probably setting out already to get to Georgetown or wherever they have to carry them to school. So when you call out people at that families that disrupt family life at that hour, an hour when it is sacred to them, because their work starts at either 8 or 8:30 or whatever the case may be. What is it that you're trying to do? Show that you got the power? Everybody knows the president is an all-powerful person. But why you got to call the people out at 5:30? Does it make a difference calling them out at 5:30 or 7:30? It makes a difference to them. But does it make a difference to the problems that you want to discuss? And what's amazing about the charade, because that's what it was, a charade.
Indeed it was.
That there was no discussion of what might have been the problems inherent in the public sector investment program. There was absolutely no discussion. There was no taking advantage of the collective that was there at the meeting with all those minds to see whether solutions could be proffered, where there could have been exchange of ideas after listening to some of the problems that each of us get in our different projects and in our different areas and in our different sectors, and be able to distill the commonality of the problems and try to make on-the-spot solutions. This charade was meant to be a live cutting out. And I have maybe there's also an underlying purpose of it. I don't know whether one or two people at the ministerial level certainly have to have been the ministerial, because the permanent secretary level, you could, you know, I mean, they're quote unquote supposed to not to be political people, and you could get rid of them whenever you feel like. But I want to know whether there was it was meant to disguise getting at certain ministers. And perhaps that's the purpose of the live streaming and all this kind of stories. So you can read into it a lot. So you cover all your different things, smoke screens, while your intent is to really get at these people who you wanted to blame and shame. Because like I said, there was no attempt to understand what are the problems that you were experiencing. Let me back up a little bit. Under the coalition government, we had problems implementing the PSIP. It's perennial. It's perennial, not a today problem. It's perennial. Given my own background in budgeting and the years I worked in budgeting, after I became a minister, I set out some of the problems that bedeviled higher implementation of the PSIP. And we started to tackle them. One of the problems was that people complained that the budget was coming out too late. Because prior to 2015, when the coalition came in, budgets had a habit of coming out after December and anywhere between January and March. And when you check the history of budget presentation, they go closer to March. So when you bring out a budget in March, because according to the Constitution, the outside date for the presentation of the budget is March 30th of the following year, 90 days into the new year. So when you bring out a budget, say March 28th, it takes another month for that budget to be ready for implementation, because the budget now you have to give 1 week. Then after that 1 week, the budget debate on the speech starts. And let us say that takes 1 week, so that's 2 weeks gone. Then the budget debate on the estimates of expenditure for that year starts, and that will take, let's say, 2 weeks. That's 4 weeks gone. So you know that end of April. So by the time the appropriation bill and everything else is signed and so forth, you are early May. And that is when the spending agencies know what is their allocation. Now they have to take that allocation now and spread it over 12 months. Meanwhile, now they have to go start the process of project implementation. They're now into June. The rainy weather steps in June, July, maybe even August. So when it comes to the major projects, and especially projects that have to do at the outside, right, outside, where they're starting the building of a school and so on, as opposed to, say, purchasing of cars, purchasing of furniture and so on, you have major problems. Because most of the PSIP will be in the form of building roads, drainage, building schools and all these kind of things that will take place on the outside. Furniture and equipment and so on, which you can import and so on, and those also have lead time. So the point I'm making is the whole presentation of the budget was a big issue. And that is why very early from 2016, I think it was, we began to bring out budgets before the start of the fiscal year. Before the start of the fiscal year. Because by the time you present and approve the budget in December, all the spending agencies know what is the allocation. And they can prepare for a whole year as opposed to half of a year. And still, we had problems in the implementing a PSIP that was considerably less than the PSIP of today. And what we further found were, among others, one, that there was very little private sector capacity. Hence, a few firms were getting many projects and they were overloaded. That same situation happens today.
It's magnified
And
now.
they'll say, sorry?
It's magnified now.
Yes,
Because it's bigger money, it's more money, more projects.
That's right. I was going to say that. It's magnified. We found that many of these same private sector agencies had old equipment they didn't renew their technology. And what do I mean? When you see how fast, for example, the Chinese firm built the Marriott Hotel, it was said that they employed a technology unknown to Guyana. And it's true, because these days you see how fast buildings are being used now, using that technology and so on. Whereas a little 3 or 4 story building building with the old technology could take you years. So they weren't up to date. Then they didn't have certain kinds of equipment and so on, where manual labor was still being used to dig, a trench to put in pipes, to lay pipes, and to lay underground cables and so on. They had a machine that will just dig up the whole thing in a couple of hours and finish. So they didn't have capacity. Then at the human resource level, that was a major problem. You know, sometimes we like to say the private sector is everything. But when you check carefully, if private sector could offer a public sector person a top up, that person gone. So all the training that the government would have put in, the cost of that training and so on, that the government would have put in, and then employ the person who they trained, but because they can't pay them well, now that you're fully trained, right, you're looking for a reward for that training. But the government itself was doing a quick pro quo. Look, we can't pay you well, but we are going to send you the training. But not too many people look at it in that way. People say, well, listen, I spent 5 years training, 5 years on my life plan. Now the next 5 years is when I want to get married, I want to get children, this, and so different types, different things. So they don't awaken to find out that I could only pay you $100,000 as an engineer and so on. So they'll poach the engineer, pay them a top up and give them a little more fringe benefits and so on, and that engineer gone. But still, they had problems on those levels. Project plan, all these kind of. So the private sector was one part. Then, of course, the public sector was a major issue. Major issue, because the salaries were never, as I said, I just give you, we were never able to pay proper salaries. The way how we thought about doing that is to selectively identify key personnel. Just for example, in our Ministry of what did we call our Ministry of Public Infrastructure, for example, all the engineers were put in a work, I think it's called them a work services group, identified, and then they were targeted for special salaries and so on. It's not the greatest approach, but when you got money, number one, right, and then you have this need for certain skills, right? That's how, and very often, wages are determined based on the skill level. We have to identify this bunch. And then again, as a result, you then move certain, even though certain activities may fall within a certain sector, you move those activities to the public works. Like, for example, schools, building of schools. That's the whole requires a whole set of skill set, engineering, all these kinds of things that schools, the school administrator or the Minister of Education and so on, not really au fait. They're not au fait. So even though the building of a school may fall under the sector called Ministry of Education, the idea was that the whole project implementation will fall, say, under the Public Works Ministry, because they now have a whole set of engineers and so on who can look at that. But now you look at the situation now. You're asking the Central Housing and Planning Authority to build roads, highways, not even community roads. It is the Central Housing and Planning Authority, not the Ministry of Public Works, that was responsible for building the Mandela Road. It's the Central Housing and Planning Authority and not the Ministry of Public Works that is responsible for building that road across the West Demerara that was opened a couple of months ago. How can you have that? Does the Central Housing and Planning Authority got the engineering quality and experience to supervise such roads as opposed to the Ministry of Public Works. So you got all kinds of, and I heard a scenario why it was put on the Central Housing and Plan Authority and not rightfully on the Ministry of Public Works. But how can the Central Housing and Plan Authority be responsible for building highways, not community roads in housing schemes, but highways? How can you think about it? What is behind these kinds of decision making? And then you upset when a road might be behind schedule and so on. You are distributing thinly. You already don't have the quality. Because not every engineer who's graduated from UG or from wherever else is an engineer. Graduating with a bachelor's degree in engineering doesn't make you an engineer. And that's part of the problem that we have also in this country. There's a lot of talk, but no effort to bring in an engineer's bill, for example. You have lawyers, you have the Bar Association that regulates them, and their code of ethics and so on. But there's no legal framework for, say, engineering in this country. At the time when your public sector investment program is in the stratosphere. You got all these problems. You still have and so under us, we had the same situation where the president and the prime minister, together with the ministers and the permanent secretary and deputy permanent secretary, used to meet at the same Buridi, been up at the State House once a month to understand the issues, to identify where the problems are, to make on-the-spot decisions, and to delegate responsibilities where certain things are concerned. Thus, if problems were being encountered in school situation, Ministry of Infrastructure and their engineering department were charged with working with the sector minister and the sector people there and so on. You don't have that here. And yet, people may say, wait, the coalition government had the same thing. Yes, we had monthly meetings with the president. And these meetings were chaired by the prime minister. And all the ministers were invited. And all the permanent secretaries were invited. And all the deputy permanent secretaries were invited. We had it too. So this is not something that is germane to Ali. What he can keep is the abusing and the cautioning. And the shaming and the belittling. He can keep that. You will never find that with President Granger or Nagamoto. Never. And to such an extent that you never knew that we had these same meetings, kinds of meetings and so on. But there are inherent problems, and these problems have been magnified under this government. One, the public sector investment program has been enlarged too quickly. And it is putting a great strain on all kinds of resources, human, physical, natural, everything. Two, the problems aren't only with local contractors, they are also with foreign contractors. A few weeks ago, Ali went to Ogle at the hotel, at the hospital, at the children and women's hospital that is supposed to be being built at Ogle by an Austrian firm who was handpicked. They didn't win any open tender. They were handpicked by the government to build that hospital. And yet still, that hospital is months behind schedule. Ali went there, behaving in the same manner. Chatting them about bond and all kind of story. I don't know how that will work out. But it is clear the hospital will not be built in time, that in accordance with the contract. What are the problems? We don't know. All we heard about is about threatening with bond and all this kind of thing. We don't know what's the problem these people are going through. But without picking up cudgels for contractors, which we will come back to, there are all kinds of problems. There's stone problems. I understand there's so many scams in the stone. I don't know whether it's stone anymore or stones. I understand there's a set of stone incorrect size that was imported and being stored on the very land that is on which we are supposed to get this receding or never to be seen new office complex. Wrong size of stone, which apparently had been imported by somebody whose name has been mentioned in a different capacity in the papers recently. So you have issues with stone, notwithstanding all the different stone permits that have been given out by this government over the last 4 years. I don't know what happened to them. I don't know how many have come to fruition. The closest one would have been the Mohammeds. They were well and truly ahead of everybody else. But I don't know whether theirs is functioning, given the situation that they have found themselves in last year. I don't know what has happened to them, but there seems to be a stone issue. Sun. All these resources, water, all these are resources that are being demanded way beyond the ability to supply. Way beyond. So in some cases, I don't know what you want these contractors to do. As I said, we don't know what are the problems bedeviling the implementation of the PSIP, because those weren't tackled at this meeting. We don't know, but I'm speaking from experience, my own experience as a technical person and as a minister, where a number of these problems would have lay in a time when the public sector investment program was considerably less than what we have today. And then suddenly you hear the government crowing about, since they come into power, they have been able to bring 2,000 contractors. 2,000 contractors? We must be the best in the whole world. 2,000 contractors? What are the criteria for becoming a contractor? What are they?
FFF.
That's correct. So the government has created its own monster. It has created its own monster. It has been impartial in its identification of who's recalcitrant and who's not. Impartial. Sorry, it has been partial, not impartial. It has been partial in its identification. Because absent from Tuesday's meeting were a number of people. To this day, Bamio is not finished. The Bamio school is not finished. There's a huge contract that has been given to one of their friends for a canal that has gone nowhere. He wasn't there. But I think it's been given another huge contract from the CHMPA. So nobody will take you seriously if you don't take these problems seriously. You think those contractors who were hauled before and shamed publicly when they were leaving that meeting, did you think that they were grumbling to themselves that he called me but he didn't call X or he didn't call Y? And do you think you have endeared yourself to them? You have perhaps caused more bitterness, more enmity, and so forth. And so the proof in the pudding would be whether this naming and shaming would have resulted in acceleration of the PSIP. And if that acceleration was consistent with productivity and other gains that should have been made. Because if you go to me and you shout me down and say, you only have 2 more months and you got to finish this school and so on, and then as a result of that, I go and engage in a lot of shoddy work and so forth, what will happen? We don't produce many of the things that go into construction in this country. So people have to import them. I remember us when a certain building was being built. They were waiting, I think, on windows or some such thing for the building. And it took months. At every time that pharmaceutical came to those monthly meetings, they said they're still waiting for these I think windows or whatever to come in. They'll be fired whether some of these people have these problems to do with import. I'm sure they do. Then you have issues to do with also foreign exchange. Notwithstanding this rosy picture that they're painting about everything being nice in this country, about foreign currency and everything stable and so on, you talk to the average person and they will tell you they have serious problems accessing foreign currency. Now, I don't know whether the government goes out of its way to help contractors to get the foreign currency so that they can import whatever needs to be imported to put in the building or whatever they're using. So we didn't have access to what are the problems. And if you can't identify the problems, you will never be able to proffer a solution. So my advice to him is that he should institute these meetings like the coalition government on a monthly basis, minus all the coursing out and abusing out, minus all the live streaming and so on, and quietly sit down and try to get to the root of the problems. And he could divide it up between major projects where he and his prime minister or public works minister will deal with the major projects, and the minor projects where the permanent secretaries, along with some other sector ministers, will deal with. The cabinet subcommittee on projects and so on, they can blend these and come up with further solutions. That's another free bit of advice you can take. I got to be wary about these pieces of free advice. I got to eat. I ain't getting paid for them. So all over the world, these issues about war room and whatever else you want to call it, where people, project coordinators, project managers, permanent secretaries, they are called into that room and they are put in there and they are whatever, hauled over the coal, they beat it over some Singapore, all those places that take place. But it has to take place in a manner where people don't feel that they are worthless. Some people might be worthless indeed, but you should be able to spot them and identify them fairly quickly. And people will see to you very quickly if you're more bark and no bite. And for the last 4 years, what you had is a lot of barking and no biting. Because a number of contractors, recalcitrant contractors, have come back and got projects. Cemetery Road is a classic example. Even before the man could finish, even though he was long behind schedule, he got more projects. Contractors that were blacklisted got projects. When people see these things, they don't take you seriously. They're not going to take you seriously. So that is my 2 cents. There's a lot that has already been said. The AFC, the WPA, I believe, the PNC put out statements and so on. But I think the thing needs far more analysis than it is today. And unless this government steps back from massive PSIP, because it's also causing overheating in the economy, among a number of other things, also causing inflation in the country. There's a number of other negatives that are flowing from this massive PSIP. It's not that it's probably not needed, but given the level of human, physical, and other resources that we have, it can't be implemented and implemented properly. And as we can see, you have to be wary even when projects are quote-unquote finished. You have to be wary They start patching Mandela Road already. Mandela Road is a dangerous road when it rains. Water accumulates on the sides of the road, and you could end up hydroplaning on that road. The road that they just built across the West Demerara, that has its own issues already. When I look, Kadaki, you've traveled to the United States last year, and you have your own comparisons to make. But you don't have to go as far as, say, United States. When you look at Trinidad, you look at Barbados, and you look and see their roads, their highways, the quality of their highways, and you compare it to this thing that you call Mandela Avenue and this thing across the West Demerara, you wonder why we can't build highways like what these people got. What they have over us. What they have over us. And you come right back into Guyana and you look at the two superb highways that were built and lasted for a long time. The Linden-Sousdak Highway and the Quarantine Highway. When you look at these two superb highways, international quality, of course built by international people. I'm not saying only international people can build, but I could only go on what they built.
You know, Mr. Jordan, there's a local comparison I like to make. I don't know if you recognize it. The quality of the section of the East Coast Road that was done while the coalition was in office versus the other sections under the PPP and all the other roads. Can you remember somebody commenting in the National Assembly about Glass Barkley Road?
Yes.
All right.
But I think it was done by the Chinese.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
Yeah, it is the
It was done by
Chinese.
Chinese,
It
yes.
is the Chinese.
Yes. Yes, the Chinese. Right? Even the West Demerara Road. The West Demerara Road that was also opened under the coalition. It was done by a Jamaican firm in association with Guyanese. I think the Jamaican firm was something aggregates. It was called something aggregates. In conjunction with BK, I think it was BK International. The West Demerara Road, it was financed by the Caribbean Development Bank. I believe it was financed by. That was a beautiful road when it was completed. But what is wrong? So it is clear that we have some level of technology. It's clear that we have people who can do these things. But look how much money they spend ending up with what's now considerably at their trap on Mandela Avenue. I'm telling you, don't if you have a fair downpour and you're driving there, you have to be extra careful because puddles of water are settling on the side of the road, and you could let the hydroplane because the road, first of all, is not even a smooth road. It goes in these valleys, these valleys and troughs, valleys and troughs, valleys and troughs, like we're bumping all over the place. I don't know if that is the new technology for building roads. But if it is, I don't want to be any part of it. Give me the roads I see in Barbados or the highways I see in Trinidad. But I can't see how we can indicate our transformation and transformative and all kind of thing, building these roads that we are building. And it doesn't seem as if we are aware that roads are built to take certain kinds of traffic. I don't know whether they understood that when they were building these roads, they're going to have to take these monster trucks over full to capacity as they carry aggregates and sand and whatever else on these roads. In the United States, there's certain roads that no truck can go. They have to go around. I think some of them are called service roads and whatever else. And they have scales that weigh these trucks and so on. And you can be fined and charged and whatever else for overloading a truck. You see trucks that are overloaded going across the Demerara Harbor Bridge, even though they got a scale. I don't know whether the scale ever works or not, and so on. You have trucks that don't adhere to any covering down, so you have sand blowing all over the place, blowing on cars that are following them, and all kinds of stories. and you talk about transformation. But these are little things. These aren't forceful things. They aren't forceful things, and I think it's time. But enough said on them. Let us go to our other prize today, which is the cash transfer. Now, if the more these people open them out, as far as it's concerned, the more confusion they create. How a supposedly simple, uncomplicated one-half cash transfer program can now be transferred into what everybody's perceiving it to be a vote buying scheme for the 2025 elections? You know, I asked myself that question, and it's a question I think should be repeatedly asked, because essentially this is what it is. We started out October the 10th with me suggesting that in the speech that Ali was to make to the Parliament later that day, that he should include a $100,000 cash grant to adult resident Guyanese. Later that day, he indeed announced a cash grant, one-half cash grant of $200,000 to households. And he said it to be paid, what was the word, instantaneous or immediate?
Instantaneously.
Instantaneously, which means right now, immediately. Doesn't mean indeed shortly, right? Presently, shortly. But instantaneously means right now. Instant. Not so fast, the 3IC said. He went later on that day at his press conference and said, no, instantaneously story. They paid over a period of 5 months. 5 months. We're working on apps and all kinds of stories. So don't worry, instantaneous thing. 5 months.
The tail took over to wag the dog.
That's right. Then, the Wednesday, I believe, of the following week, so that would have been Wednesday the 16th, in a live Facebook, Ali indicates that, let me see, I don't want, sometimes you don't want to make certain that you don't make certain that, yes. So Ali indicates that over the past week, a quarter year, thousands of Guyanese have engaged myself and members of my cabinet. And then this is Wednesday the 16th. He was telling us this on a live. Over the past few days, government observed a rush to transfer utility meters and also prepare tenancy agreements. As a result, they're re-examining the previous measure with the aim of expanding the benefits. And that he asked the Ministry of Finance to reconsider the proposal to $100,000 for every adult Guyanese, effective 1st of January. Well, not effective. Who would have been 18 years on January the 4th, 2024. Well, as you well know, what developed subsequent to that, and which we don't need to go back to. The point is that subsequent to all of that, a discussion started as to whether this program should be codified in law. I raised the issue. Well, before I raised the issue, a number of people, including the WPA, the PNCR, Nigel Hughes on behalf of the AFC, and then latterly, UC Guayana in a letter, very concise and erudite letter to the press, indicated why this thing should be codified in law. Jagdio, they are more adamant that we don't need any law. That you already had the FMAA, you had the Constitution, and all these kinds of stuff. But I think they are making a mistake. as indeed all those other people who recommend that it be in law. Those laws that they quoted, the FMA and so on, they have similar laws in places like the United States. Even more elaborate laws as it relates to accounting for monies and so forth. But that doesn't deny the fact that when it comes to these issues, critical issues of transferring monies outside of certain frameworks, especially when these are either going to be one-off or they are going to be more than one-off, or they are going to be ended up being monies for which technically you didn't work for. Monies that you didn't work for. So these are transfers, substantial transfers from the state. Either that's going to take place in a one-off basis or going to take place in a continuous basis. And I refer to what the United States did when there was COVID, as opposed to what we did when there was COVID. Before the United States could distribute COVID relief, especially in the form of cash, they developed a special piece of legislation, notwithstanding the fact that they got the Accountant General, the Inspector General, all the different laws and so forth. Notwithstanding that fact, similar to what Guyana may have, they developed a special piece of legislation to govern the transfer of cash and other benefits in the context of COVID. It was called the CARES Act, the CARES Act. CARES stands or stood for Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, the CARES Act. Let me read a little piece. The U.S. Congress passed a $2.2 trillion stimulus bill called the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, or the CARES Act, in March 2020. This is soon after the coronavirus had hit, because in some places it hit 2019, late 2019. In Guyana, the first one was in March of 2020. So in March 2020, this act was passed to blunt the economic damage set in motion by the global coronavirus pandemic. The CARES Act authorized, hear this, the CARES Act authorized direct payments of $1,200 per adult, plus $500 per child, for individuals making up to $75,000. Heads of house, $75,000. Then heads of households making up to $112,000. And couples filing jointly making up to $150,000. So let me go over that piece quickly. So this is a very comprehensive act, and it authorized direct payments of $1,200 per adult, plus $500 per child. A, for individuals making up to $75,000. Or B, heads of households making up to $112,500. Or C, couples filing jointly making up to $150,000. What is even better? Congress appointed an inspector general. Now, you know, United States got inspector general also, but they appointed a special inspector general and an oversight board to supervise and administer and oversee the administration of the act. So all the story that they're talking about, oh, we got FMAA already and all this kind of thing, it's nonsense. It's nonsense. United States got all the FMAA far better, far more substantive and everything else than us. And they saw the necessity of bringing special legislation to govern this special emergency situation. And as I indicated, I think one program, two programs back, and I will indicate again, even here in Guyana, where cash transfers are not new to this country. We have had cash transfers in this country only in the colonial times. Cash transfers are not new. We're making a big issue with cash transfers today. And as Jaguar himself indicated, when he was trying to belittle Clive Thomas, that Clive Thomas could not have been the originator of cash transfers because it had been studied and talked about how many years and so on. That is true. And I don't know that Clive Thomas claimed that he was the originator of cash transfers. But he's definitely the originator of the BUXTON proposal. But even under the colonial times in Guyana, there were cash transfers. And they were governed by a bill. Let me go it over for you again. Let me go it over to you again. You had the Poor Relief Bill of 1933. The Poor Relief Bill of 1933. And it governs public assistance in Guyana. Yeah, it's the same assistance that is given by the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security. Same public assistance. That's the cash transfer. And it's given based on certain criteria set out in the Act and regulations that might have been developed subsequently by the government and being executed by the Ministry of Human Services. The Poor Relief Act of 1933 governs public assistance. And you still got the FMAA Act. And you have also the pensions. The Old Age Pensions Act, Chapter 3603, governs old age pension payments in Guyana. The Old Age Pension Act, Chapter 3603. So when you're saying that how the laws in Guyana already make provisions for this, it's nonsense. You are talking about a major cash transfer. And while this one might be one-off, Diageo himself suggested that in future, there may be other cash transfers. We need a cash transfer law, whatever you call it. Whether you want to call it universal benefits, whatever you want to call it. We need a cash transfer law. Especially to stop the government from arbitrarily using resources and taxpayers' money to arbitrarily determine who they want to give a cash transfer to. If it's codified in law, it removes all that arbitrariness. And the FMAA will govern the accounting for the resources to be distributed. They're two different things.
You know,
the law will have, sorry, go ahead.
I was about to say this claim by Jagyo about this law, if you legislate, is a recurring expense, etc., etc. In this shop, or hasn't his Attorney General told him about sunset legislation?
Exactly. The latest piece of sunset legislation we have in Guyana is the Bill number 23 of 2016 that has been enacted into law. It is called the Prime Minister Hamilton Green's Pension Bill. That bill dies the day Prime Minister Hamilton Green's life expires. So this nonsense about you can't, first of all, what do you mean by you can't legislate recurrent expenditure? So let me ask you something. Is public assistance capital expenditure? Is old age pensions capital expenditure? But yet they are codified in law. They are codified in law. The law will specify objectives, of course. The law will define various definitions, including who must get the assistance. Because the government has now put itself, I know, in purgatory by suggesting that overseas diaspora Guyanese can get his assistance, whose objective, according to Ali, on October the 10th, in his address to the parliament, was to increase disposable income to create better opportunities and build in prosperity for Guyanese. Now, how as we said, this is not to negate all the contributions that diaspora Guyanese and so on are making. But you are now introducing a cash transfer program. You only have limited amount of money. You said, in part, that this thing was to assist Guyanese who got hell in 2024 and so on. And then you include diaspora Guyanese. And trying to make a meal to suggest that the opposition don't want to treat with diaspora and so on. And so you get Mr. Albert Baldio now, who has written a letter saying that how the government should find a way of distributing this money to Queens and Brooklyn and whatever else, through the embassies and so forth. You see where you're heading with this nonsense? This is what is going to happen. And Queens and Brooklyn is not the end all and be all of overseas Guyanese or diaspora Guyanese. So they have found themselves in a mess because they don't know how much this thing is going to cost anymore, because they don't know how many people may end up in Guyana. So the law that you are putting in will address all these different things. Most important, the law will address how a cash transfer can be calculated for any given year. You can put in that formula. For example, if revenues collected in the previous year for oil in the Natural Resource Fund falls below a certain amount, no cash transfer can be paid. If revenues are within a certain range, X amount can be identified for cash transfers and so on. So there's nonsense about telling me you can't legislate for recurrent expenditure. Who is going to buy that garbage? No sensible financial person or budget person will buy that garbage because they know it's garbage. It's garbage. And I noticed that yourself included, David Hines and everybody jumping up when Jagdu at his last press conference indicated that the amounts, they will go to Parliament to vote the amounts. And you guys think you won some victory or so on. You guys are conflating two different things. Let me just quickly say, because I see any amount of money, any money is to be withdrawn from the consolidated fund, it has to have what is called an appropriation act. Now, the only way you can get an appropriation act is through an appropriation bill, which can be done at the time of the budget, when you're presenting the budget, after you present the budget, right? And the estimates and all that are debated. That's why you have all them questioning and so on and so forth. At the end of the questioning, the House approves the bill clean up and so on, and it's presented to the president for his signature. When the president signs and does it, becomes an act. And that act is the instrument that allows the accountant general to withdraw monies from the consolidated fund in accordance with the details that would have made up the total in the appropriation bill. Subsequent to that budget, appropriation bill and act, you can have a supplementary appropriation bill and a supplementary appropriation act. What Jagdeo was referring to was the supplementary appropriation bill to be presented to Parliament to get authorization for the amount of money. Let us, for this purpose, say 60 billion. That is the amount that they said, which by now it probably would be even more now with all this diaspora and so on. They have to go to Parliament to get the 60 billion. The 60 billion is nowhere. There's no authorization to spend this kind of money. So at all times, the government would have had to go to Parliament for a supplementary appropriation bill. Or if they had no intention of paying the money this year, then they could have included that amount in the budget that they're about to present for 2025. And that amount will be included in the regular appropriation bill. That has nothing to do with what I understand the WPA, Nigel Hughes, and whoever else were asking for, which is a law that deals specifically with cash transfers or universal basic income or whatever you want to call it. Two different stories. Two different stories. So the law that we are talking about is like a law akin to the CARES Act. That is what we're looking for.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. I didn't realize we got over 9 o'clock. Sorry.
It's all right. There's life. No worries, sir.
But just to bring this to another 2 or 3 minutes, so now you have this model situation now, where we were talking about app. The app would have been covered under the law, because right now, to be quite honest, I don't know what app they are using to build this app to collect information, private information from various people. At least when it comes to GCOM is covered under the law. But I don't know now they're building this app to collect information separate outside of the framework of GCOM. Collect information. That would have been, if you had the law now, it would have defined that either in the law or in regulations, that an app, and it will have described the app, it will have described the information that the app would contain, and would describe all the different things.
I know you can use that information.
That's right, and how you could use that information, and data protection, and all, and reference to any data protection laws that might be enforced and so on. That law would also tell you whether you can pay the cash transfer taxable or non-taxable, and it will reference to the Income Tax Act, or it may say that this act supersedes the Income Tax Act, where as it relates to paying it, say taxable or non-taxable, non-taxable, right? Because to pay any income non-taxable, the minister has to have a regulation. I don't know whether that has been done, because they have a lot of income that has been paid non-taxable. But that income, even if he doesn't make that, if he doesn't make it non-taxable, then that income has to be reported in the regular reporting of the individuals who collected the money. But like I said, if we then have this cash transfer, especially as it relates to taking money out of the natural resource fund, then all this business of waking up and saying how you're paying monies to sugar workers, and you're paying monies to fishermen, and you're paying money to all that will change, because now you'll be governed by this law. But I suspect that is why they don't want to go down that road. So now, as I said, you have this model situation now where you wake up and you suddenly hear, well, we're going to be paying public servants and pensioners first. No, I don't know what that means. First of all, when you say you're going to be paying pensioners and public servants first, you haven't gone to Parliament to get this money. Today is the 14th of November. And you say you're going to be paying by month end, this money. I don't know how much it is going to cost to pay public servants and pensioners. They haven't said so. I don't even know if they know. I don't even know if they know how much it will cost. And what is the story? If you are paying public servants, a pensioner could be a public servant. Because I know, for example, one of them who's still in the Ministry of Finance is an old age pensioner. And he's still a public servant. So when you say you're going to be paying pensioners and public servants, by the way, which pensioners? Old age pensioners? NIS pensioners? Public service pensioners? Or all the pensioners? Or just a branch of them? Which one of these pensioners you will be paying at the end of the year? This is total confusion. And then of all things, tell me, where is this going? What happened to the public sector workers? Do you have a handle of the public sector workers? What about the self-employed workers? Now that is the issue. Because of the 100% of people who might be self-employed, only about 30% or less are on the tax roll. So again, this business about collecting the information has to be governed by some law as to the collection of that information and the use of that information. And then, of course, what about all those other people? All those other people who are not within the formal system. You see, in other words, then, we come out with wake up when you come out of the blues, you come out and you say, well, public servants and pensioners. There's no plan. There's no strategic. There's no management. When did you know that public servants and pensioners will be paid by month end? When? And why at the same time you could not say they will be paid by month end? This is what is going to happen. This is what we're going to use. They're going to get their monies through a thing. How will pensioners be paid? Are they being paid cash at the post offices? Boy, oh boy, you better get plenty policemen to go and guard those places. And is this cash arriving in envelopes already counted? Or are we going to ask those poor postmasters and mistresses to count $100,000 plus the December pension for people? What is it that you're talking about? How is this to happen? Or are checks going to be arriving at these post offices to be distributed to the pensioners? Or old age pensioners going to have to go to some place to collect this check together with their 2025 book? Kadaki, these are real issues. So I don't hope there's anybody jumping up. And then, of course, lastly, right at the floor, there is a $7 billion still that was voted at the budget. What is this money to be used for? We're not hearing anything. Normally, you would hear that this $7 billion will be used to pay an extra $25,000 like last year. They paid $25,000 to the pensioners, and they paid that out of the $7 billion. So, what is this $7 billion to be used for? We're not hearing it. We're almost at the end of November. And lastly, something is wrong with us. Because if we are intending to pump $60+ billion, plus the back pay for public servants, plus the $7 billion for whatever reason is going to get out there, plus the whatever else money is to be used, whether the 13th month salary for the display service, are we going to pump all that money at a time when money circulation is rapid during the Christmas season? People get the box on and the top up on the bonuses and so on. Are we going to pump all that money into December? You don't need to be an economist to understand what you are creating. You don't need to be an economist to understand what you are creating. I really don't know who advises the government, but if this is what we can expect, we're in terrible shape. Very bad shape. I'm sorry that we had to rush towards the end, but
we get a message.
Get the message. All right?
Thank you.
All right, my brother. Thanks for another towards the end.
Sure. Have a good one. And viewers, just before you leave, let me tell you the benefits of that sunset legislation, which some of us are suggesting. The sunset legislation really and truly is a law that automatically ends the government program, in that it stipulates a time for which the necessary law is applicable. When that time expires, in order to continue to use that legislation, you must go back to the National Assembly to get an extension on that law. That's the first thing. Good. And of course, there's some things which it demands. For example, it demands, apart from the automatic end or automatic termination, and you going back to the legislature to get an extension, you have to provide reports, right? You have to provide reports. And then it, to some extent, functions as a pilot project, in that once the project is wrapped up, or at the end of each year of that project under the sunset legislation, you have to do evaluations and provide it to the legislature. So I rather suspect that the PPP is going to continue to run from the use of any sunset legislation in this instance to cover the cash transfers, because they don't want accountability, and this is the whole issue. They do not want accountability. Thank you for tuning in. Do remember the tell is 862-373-5187. Cash App is $CAMS TV. And I'll see you tomorrow morning for another program of Guyanese Morning Time, Free Talk Friday. The possibility is we will have Dr. David Hines on because we missed the opportunity on Wednesday. But remember that. Tune in tomorrow for another program of Guyanese Morning Time. I am leaving you here as we pay some bills.
Are you planning your next visit to Oil Ridge, Guyana, South America? Well, let's accommodate you at Varon's Cheerful Country Manor. With free secured on-premises parking, our beautiful vacation air-conditioned home offers 3 beds, 2 bathrooms, a spacious kitchen, and all modern amenities. Located at Tushen, on the eastern bank of the mighty Essequibo and the western coast of Demerara, Varon's Cheerful Country Manor is just a stone throw from the ocean. Make that reservation now on Airbnb and VRBO. For contact, call us on 516-770-3053 or 592-685-3521. Make Varon's Cheerful Country Manor your home away from home.
And of course, Verons can be contacted locally on 683-3110 for local bookings. You need to book at least a minimum, you need to book a minimum of 3 days or nights. And that's it. You can book locally. If you're here in Guyana, you want to get away, you can book for 3 days or nights. And you can contact them on 683-3110 to facilitate such bookings. Do have a great day. Remember to spread the love and be safe. If you can be good, be safe. Goodbye.